For lesson 5, transforming artwork, we're going to be starting off with creating some new artboards. And then we're going to talk about creating guides on those artboards and taking a concept and be able to use the tools like move, scale, rotate, and reflect. Okay, we are going to be creating some playing cards for this assignment. We're going to create the first card together, and then you're going to have to create the other 3 on your own. We're also going to talk a little bit about finding vector images to use for this assignment once I show you what we're doing, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my example. This is the example that I made. We're going to be creating the face cards for one of either the king, the queen, or the jack. You can choose your choice. But you're going to create a card for each of the 4 different suits. So the spade, the heart, the diamond, and the club. Okay, so you can see on mine what I did is I took my black cards and I just did them as opposites, and my red cards and did those as opposites. We're also going to work on making changes in the isolation mode to the vectors that you choose. I have put these icons as well as the cartoon image that I used, the vector image that I used, onto the module. You can use those, or once we go through this first card, I'm going to show you where you can go to get some of your own. Okay, so we're going to start off by going to File and New, or if you're on the home screen, you can just do Create New. And we're going to start off by creating a 2.5 by 3.5. Make sure you're on inches with 4 artboards. Whoops, and I just did 5. Okay, and then I'm going to hit create. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the artboards themselves. So your artboards may be all in a row. They may be stacked like mine are. You can change how those are set up. So the first thing we're going to do is come over here and do edit artboards. And right here, we're going to name them all. So I'm going to change mine to spade. The second one to heart. The third one to diamond, and the fourth one to club. Now make sure after you type in the word that you just hit your tab key and it'll set it for you. Then we're going to come right here to arrange all. So you can move these artboards around 2 different ways. You can click on them and then just drag them where you want them. If you want the nice clean marks like in between here, then we can go right here to arrange all. Excuse me. Hit arrange all, and you can arrange them in the area that you want. So you can arrange them by rows, by columns. You can do left to right, or you can do top to bottom. Okay, and we want ours in columns of 2. So 1, 2, and we're going to choose this one right here. And then down here, I'm going to change this to 0.25 for my spacing. We're going to pull our guides down, and if we're on an even little number right here, it's just going to make it easier. Now, if you've already started on something and you want to make sure your artwork moves with the artboards as they're rearranging them, you want to make sure this is selected. For us, we haven't added anything on here, so it's not a big deal either way. And then you're going to hit OK. Okay, and then you should have this layout. Now I'm going to grab my selection tool. Okay, so for the next thing we're going to add is our guides. So you're going to come up here to View and Rulers and Show Rulers. Okay, so now we have our rulers going around it. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to change it to where it's going to be just like a standard ruler like you would use all the time. So I'm going to go to Rulers and I'm going to change to Global Rulers. The other option is Artboard Rulers. And so you can see they kind of start at the artboards. And you can move the rulers around, but we're going to do Rulers, and we're going to change to Global Ruler. Now you can see it starts at the 0 right here at the corner, and then it's right on that line, so it makes it a lot easier. Okay, next we're going to pull our guides into place, and this is really easy because you can just simply click on the ruler and drag, And so I'm going to drag this first one down to 1/4, which is right here. And then I'm going to drag my next one down. And I always come down to the bottom to make sure where I'm lining up at. So I'm at the 3.5 mark, and then I can come back up to the 1/4. And then again, drag down. This one is sitting right here, so we need to go to right there for 1/4. And then we're going to come down to the bottom and do the same thing. Now for this one, we're just looking for close to the right mark. If it's not perfect, it's okay, just because of the fact that these are more like a guide for us. Okay, now we're going to go from the other side. So we're going to click from the left, and we're going to drag it over and put it right there. And by ordering our artboards in this direction, what it's caused is we can just do 4 guides vertically and 4 guides horizontally, and we have all of our guides done. If we would have had them in a row, we would have had to do more of these. So it just makes it a little bit simpler. There we go. Now, for a nice little cheat on this, when I get done, I'm going to want to erase all these guides. Like, they don't show if I print, but I also don't want to necessarily see them while I'm working. So if I come right here and I open up my layers, this, I'm going to double click the name and I'm going to call it guides. Now I can lock it, first of all, and they won't move. And second of all, I can close them and open them as I need to. Third of all, I could unlock it when I'm done and drag them down to the trash can and completely get rid of them. Okay, so I'm just going to leave them right here in their own little thing. Then I'm going to create a new layer. Remember the square with the plus sign? And I'm going to call this one spade. We're going to start with our spade. Now, like I said, I went ahead and put some images in here, so I'm going to go through these. You can walk through them with me if you want to, or if you want to wait and find your own and design your own cards, that's fine as well. You are going to need the symbols, which look like this, and you can feel free to use these. And you are going to need some kind of vector image, which we will talk about towards the end of this assignment. That way I can show you some places to go and you can pick your own. But I am going to use the queen off of this one. So let's go back to our concept. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on my artboard 1, which is right here, and I'm going to move my spade over. Fortunately, you can see this is an SVG file, which is a vector file, and the little items are just made as little separate sublayers. So if I come over here in my layers, I can see they're all sublayers. They're easy enough to click on, and I can grab my spade, control copy, oops, come back to this, control paste, and then I can press and hold my shift so I don't distort it, and I can size it to the size that I want. And I'm going to make it about this size, and I'm going to come right here. I'm going to have mine stick outside my guides just slightly. I didn't want it like perfectly in the square, so I'm going to have it stick out just a little bit. And then to make my copy to go on the other side, remember it goes upside down. So I'm going to go right here and rotate it. Double click on the tool, change it to 180 degrees. You can preview, you can see it's upside down, and remember that we hit copy instead of OK, so it'll make a copy of it, and then I can simply click on it and move it. And again, I'm just going to kind of place it in the same spot. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do the queen again just to show you for my example. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to select her, Control C, Control V, and I will warn you she's extremely large, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit, so Control minus, press and hold my shift key while I'm sizing this to keep her shape. I'll size her down, and she still doesn't fit inside the box, so I'm going to go a little bit smaller. There you go, she goes nice inside the box now. And I'm going to view, and I'm going to fit artboard in window, so Control 0. Now after we're done, if we want to move this to the top, we simply can go into our layers and move these two pieces up to the top. Okay. Then we're going to be making changes to this using isolation mode. So if with isolation mode, you can go into a object or a grouped object and be able to break it down by individual pieces that were originally drawn. So original paths, original shapes, all of those things. And we're going to change her clothing colors. So if I click on it, you can see that it clicks on a group, and I can right click and do ungroup. And you'll see over here that it now ungrouped it. But what it ungrouped was her eyes and her body. So her body is still a group. So you have to do it one more time. That's why it helps to keep your layers panel open over here so you can see a little bit more. So now you can see red square. I'm on her again. I'm going to right click again and ungroup one more time. Now you can see it's broken it down by all these individual pieces. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to move through isolation mode by doing that. So let's start by changing her robe color. So her robe is broken down into this piece, and then the collar that's back here. I don't care what colors you decide to use. Just keep in mind you do have to have 2 cards that are your spades and your clubs are usually the same color, and your hearts and your stars or your hearts and your diamonds are the same color. I got Lucky Charm there for a second. If you wanted your clubs and spades to be blue and your hearts and diamonds to be red, that's fine. You can change them however you want, just as long as you still stick with those kind of rules. And if you've ever looked at face cards, you have the same kind of graphic on all 4 of them. You can just change them up and how they look slightly, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into isolation mode so I can change the color of this robe. If I changed it right now, it's going to change everything in there. So let me show you. Don't do it. Let me just show you. Over here on fill, it has a question mark because it means there's multiple colors. And if I was to change it all to, let's say, hot pink, it's going to change all of it. I just want to change the red area. So I'm going to double click on it and double click on it again. There we go. So now you can see it's broken down to its individual path. It looks like it's taken away the white. It really hasn't. It's just showing you the shape that you double clicked on. And I can come over here and I can change it to, we'll go purple, I think was the color I did for originally. Okay, so I can change it to purple. And then I can double click out here to get back out of it. Or you can, on that bar that was right up here, we can go all the way back. So I'm going to come over to this side now, double click on it, click and then click again. Now it can be a little temperamental, so if you can see, like I clicked on it, if I double click, it just clicked me out of it. So you kind of have to like pace it just right. It takes a little bit to learn. You'll do it. It'll be fine. So now we're on this robe, and I can come in here and I can change it to another purple, and I can click my way out of it. Okay, so now I'm back out. I need to change this back piece to be a dark purple, so I'll go to this purple so it looks like it's a little shaded. And there we go. We've changed her robe color. Now you can change her hair color. So if you want to make her, you know, I believe I made it black in my cards. There you go. You can change her eye colors on a group. So you just have to make sure you right click and do ungroup. You can change her dress. You can see that it's got these petal effects. You can come in and just change it. Okay, and you can change all the colors that you want. And when you get done, you'll have a final piece. Then you can either copy her and move her over, or you can copy whatever you're working on and move it over. Remember, you're just going to select it all. We don't want the spades. We're going to select it all. And you can press, you can click on her and then press Alt and Shift and be able to drag it to the right so you can make a copy of it. Okay? I'm out of room, so let me do this. There we go. So press on her, hold it, Alt and Shift, and then drag to the right, and you can just move it over. And then you can make changes again. So it's already not grouped, so you can keep going. You can also, which is going to be a little bit easier for you, if you take her and you do Control C and then start a new layer, And this time we name it hearts. And then you Control V to paste it. And you can move it, hold the Shift key and move it over. And then that way you have a new layer for each one of these, and it's going to be a little bit easier for you to be able to go in and find them if you need to change something. Okay, so you can see now her bounding box is red, her bounding box is green because they're separate layers. Okay, so then you're just going to go through and you're going to do all of them. Make sure you put your little icons on there. But let's talk about options for finding images. Okay, so the two different types of images are raster images and vector images. And raster images are something that you would be using in Photoshop. So they're photographs. So what happens is those are made up of pixels. And for Illustrator, those images do not work very well because you can still get pixelation in them. Sometimes you can get more pixelation in them because this program is not made for that. And the problem is that you can take a Illustrator project and you can do it like this business card, or like this card size, which is 2.5 by 3.5. And later on you could be like, hey, I really want to make a poster out of this, and you can blow up that artboard and the artwork to whatever size you want as long as it's in a vector image. If you had put a raster image in there, it's going to mess with the pixelation of it. Okay, so what I don't want you to use any images, any photographs for this assignment. I want you to make sure they're all rasters, which is going to, in some ways, limit you a little bit because you can't go find a photo of your favorite race car and use it. You're going to have to find a vector that comes close and then make adjustments to it. Okay, so websites that come in handy. I'm going to have a helpful sites posted on one of the first modules that it's going to be a Word doc that just lists some sites that can come in handy for you. One of the big ones is Pixabay, and it's pixabay.com. You can come in here and you can choose, let's say, giraffe, and you can do a vector, and it'll search for it. Now, all of these that are right here, you don't want to use, it doesn't like my giraffe. So let's go back and we'll just do king because I did king earlier. And I'm going to change this to vector images. There it is. So you don't want to use the ones that are at the very top. This is iStock. They charge for them. I don't want you to pay for anything. I want you to find all free images. But you can come down here and all of these are for free. Now, you can also do next page. So don't use anything that's iStock or anything that they ask for a fee. Now, I do believe that if you try to use Pixabay, they want you to sign in. And if you sign in, you can actually use more images off here. So just use your school email. It's free. It's not a big deal. Okay, so this is a good one. Another good one is, whoops, I gotta select it all, vecteezy.com. This is where I actually got the royal family that I was using for my cards. And you can do the same thing. You can come in here and type in king. This one's going to give you more of like the vectors as your first priority. You can choose photos and videos as well, though, and search for it. And then you have all of these. Now, the only catch with this one is you can't do, some of them will have a little label on them that say pro. You can't do pro without paying for them. So just don't do a pro one. It'll have a little tag that goes across like this. Okay, so you can choose any of these free ones. Again, this is iStock up here in this little gray box. Just don't use those. Now, with this website, if you click on one and download it, it automatically downloads it into a vector file. Whereas in Pixabay, if you choose one, when you hit download, you need to tell it to be a vector graphic, which is an SVG on this website. Okay. And then the third site that I found that I kind of liked was Free Vector. F-R-E. Okay, and you can come in here and you can type in king, nothing. There we go. Typed in royal. Again, if it says premium, don't use it because it costs. Use any of them that don't have that on it. The ones this time, the ones on the left are all iStock. Don't use those. And I found that if I click on some of these, and it didn't do it now, of course. Sometimes it'll kick you into iStock, so just make sure if a pop-up screen comes up, that's what's going on with it. Maybe it was this one that does it. No, of course not. Okay, so one of them does. It'll kick you into iStock every once in a while. Just close it and go on with about your business. Okay. So again, just finish out your 4 cards, make them all look different but the same. Have fun with it, be creative, and if you have any questions, shoot me an email and I will answer them as I get them.